Good morning. I am Kevin Price. Delighted to be with you. Going to spend some time talking to you about you and your business. And as usual, we got a lot to talk about. I do want to mention much of this month I'm going to be on assignment, and I'm going to have some great guest hosts in the studios. And you've already heard some of them before because of my travels. But I'm on assignment doing lots of stories for both the show and for the websites and for the national TV show. And you'll be learning more about that as the days unfold. But today I'm in the studio and glad to spend time with Sandra Finch. And she is a regular contributor on the program. And Sandra Finch, CPA firm, is let's make sure we get that website out right at the very beginning so people can learn more about it. It's the Finch, Finch, CPA firm.com. That's Finch, CPA firm.com. And Sandra, you have an interesting story. I always like to begin our segments with you to kind of briefly tell us how you became a CPA.
Well, I actually took the exam before I finished college. I had enough business hours and accounting hours to challenge the exam, as they called it back in the early 80s. And I did take and pass the exam without finishing college, and then ended up having an accounting practice and selling the accounting practice and going back to college when my first child went to college and finishing up that degree so that I could become a CPA. So it took 19 years and an accounting practice between taking that exam and getting a degree. So I didn't bother getting a degree in accounting that second time around. I got it in adult education, which is my passion. I love to teach people and help them understand. I say down at the kindergarten level, take the most complex tax topic or whatever it is that we're working on, even if it's computers, and make sure people understand how it works and then give them the right to make some educated choices.
Yeah, I believe it's really important for people to have trusted advisors like yourself, but I also think it's important that they be accessible and they be an educator. And I love the fact that that's exactly what you ended up getting your, degree in. I think it makes you just an excellent person for someone to work with when it comes to their accounting needs. I think it's excellent. And I love the topic that you suggested for us today. Why don't you just jump right straight into it? I think, sadly, it's extremely timely.
Yes, it is. I want to talk about 401k distributions. A lot of people are losing their jobs right now. We're seeing it almost every day in the oil patch. And people are either, for whatever reason, they're saying, hey, I need to tap into my 401k money and take it out. And so we're seeing some now that lost their jobs last year who come in, and as they hand me the document, they say, oh, here's the distribution I took from my 401k, but don't worry about the taxes on that have already been taken care of, because they believe that when there's money withheld from a distribution, that covers their taxes. And it so often doesn't, Kevin, because you have tax on it, which could be anything. It depends on your individual tax bracket, which could be 25%, 31%, it could be 39.6% in some cases. And then on top of that, if you're not 59.5%, then there's another penalty, a flat 10% penalty on that money. And there are a few exceptions, and that's what I want to talk about. That, first of all, just that warning that whatever is withheld generally is not adequate to cover the tax that's going to show up when you actually do your tax return.
I think, Sandra, it's really important for people when they're, when they get in a situation where they get laid off, and it's happening on a large scale here with our neighbors, that they don't become reactionary, that they really respond and they think deliberately about this and talk to a professional like yourself in the process. And so I think what you're talking about is so crucial.
Yeah, it really is. There are so many, there's just too many rabbits that we can pull out of the hat. And each one, it just goes with that individual story. We really urge people to get in front of an accountant who's trained, who knows a lot about taxes and tax planning like we do, to say, okay, here's what I need, and here's the strategy I think I need to take it out. And there are some people, I had one last week, who his daughter is in a very nice college. It's, $35,000 a year, and he got laid off. And I said, well, if you would take that 401k money and roll it into an IRA first, because for whatever reason, that's the way the law is written, that if you take money out of an IRA, not a 401k, an IRA, and it's for college costs or COBRA insurance, if you're on unemployment, or even a first-time home purchase, then that 10% penalty is completely gone.
Wow.
Yeah.
What are the consequences to making that conversion? What's the challenges to that, or are there?
To just roll it from a 401k to an IRA, there are no tax consequences to that.
Just whatever the administrative cost is it, and those are pretty marginal.
Yeah, it's usually if you've separated from service, that's part of your exit strategy or your exit interview, is they say, here's some information about your 401k and all of the things you can do with it. So one of the things you can do, and I always urge people to do, is to go ahead and roll it into an IRA, but especially in a case like this, whereas if you just took that same money out to pay that daughter's college from a 401k, it would have a 10% penalty. But if you took the time, maybe 60 days, to get it rolled over into a qualified IRA, which just basically means going to a broker or going to a bank and pulling that money over, then take out that distribution, you save 10%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very good. What are some other things that people should keep in mind when they're looking at this?
Well, one of the things we see a lot is people want to take that money out and start a business. And that's fine. If you structure the business appropriately, then you can take any losses. A lot of times first-year businesses have losses. And you can take those losses, and that will offset that tax on your tax returns. Remember, there's two pieces to this. There's the tax on the money, and there's the 10% penalty. So the ideas about rolling things to IRAs to avoid that 10% penalty takes care of the one side, but you also still have the income tax at whatever bracket you've made it to. So if you have a loss on a Schedule C business or an S corporation, that will flow right into your tax return and offset against that income from the 401k or the IRA, and that way you can mitigate some of that tax damage there as well.
So you're talking about creating a business out of the IRA?
Pardon?
Were you talking about creating a business out of the IRA?
You can't really do that. There are some companies out there that are called, one of them is called 401k Now, and you can take 401k money and start a business as if one of the things your 401k is invested in is your own business. And those are special rules, and only special companies can do them. But yes, it is possible to do that, Kevin.
We got about a minute left. Why don't you wrap up with some of your other thoughts, and also make sure you give your website one more time. Sandra Finch, always a great contributor on our show.
Okay, I just want to make sure that people understand when it's time to do that 401k distribution, or possibly a roll into an IRA and take an IRA distribution, that it's best to get in front of someone who can look at your whole picture and maybe you've got 13 weeks of severance pay, so you're going to have a pretty big W-2 even though you got laid off in the beginning of the year. Let's put all that together, put it in one plan, and see what the year is going to look like and see what kind of help we could give. And we would love to be the ones doing that. We're at FinchCPAFirm.com. We're in Spring, Texas. Our phone number is 281-379-1040.
Thank you so much for being with us. When we come back, we're going to have much more for you. I do want to remind you the show continues 24/7 at priceofbusiness.com.